Yesterday, Paul introduced you to Flow Connect, and today we will take a closer look at the new features of Flow Connect and some differences compared to Flow 6. So we will start with some Connect basics and then look into the new features and improvements for developing application in Flow Connect and how to run applications in the client, and we'll end with a Q&A. Connect basics. New product, new names, of course. We have renamed some things and introduced new ones. And that is, it's not to mess up your life, it's because we think they make more sense in this new world, especially to new users. So let's take a look at the Flow Connect glossary. So in Flow Connect we have access groups instead of roles in Flow 6. We have application packages that will be replacing the menu. It will be a lot more, but that's the closest thing in Flow 6. We have application instead of workflow, component instead of fragment, and we say deploy instead of publish, sharing, and subscribing in Flow 6. Environments means flow server installations in Flow 6, like we have a test installation and we have a prod installation. Organization, that is your organization inside the hub. Permissions. So in Flow Connect we have separate access groups for admin and end user groups and end users. Admins groups for setting permissions inside the hub, and end user groups for setting runtime access, meaning running apps in test and prod environments in the clients. So with these new admin groups we give more control over which part of the hub a user can manage. So that could be manage users and groups but not applications, or manage everything about applications but not create new users and groups. And we can set individual developer access on the application packages. And we have some built-in groups for easy onboarding. So we have some pre-created groups. So let's show a little demo of that, how we can create a new admin group. So we are now in users and groups, and we see an overview of all the groups grouped by type. So we have admin groups at the top and end user groups at the bottom. And you can see a little key icon that indicates that these are system created groups and they cannot be changed other than adding and removing users from them. So let's create a new admin group. So we click on create group, select admin group, we give it a name and we add a user. And then we will set permission for this group to be able to create new application packages. So we toggle that on. Now we have created a new expense developers group. And you can see that we have a set of hub permissions that are available, and we'll expand that list over time when we add new features. Application packages. Application package is a new concept for organizing everything related to your application in a package. So a package will contain apps and shared components and other things related to your applications, like properties, for example. Packages will be portable, so easy to download from the marketplace or shared with others in the community. And we will set permissions on the package level, so both designer permission and end user permissions. So this is the application package screen in the hub, and we can see that we have a set of packages with a name, icon, and a color. And this is similar to what it looks like in the client as well. So if we open the travel and expense package, for example, we see that we have 4 applications at the top for expense application, and we have a set of shared components for this package. And if we take a look at the permission, we can see that we have one group that has developer access to this package. Connectors. So in Flow Connect, you can define your connector once for all environments. You can create the connector configuration for each environment in one place. And the ID of the connector will be used in your application. And that means that you can rename your connectors without affecting the application using it. And it will automatically then be the same across all environments. So you don't need to remember to create the exact same thing in multiple environments. And for accessing on-prem systems, there will be a connector agent that you install on your network. And as the load increases, we can scale out the agents on demand. So let's create a new connector. So we are going to connectors. We see the existing ones, and we click on the add connector, select the type, IFS applications 10 in this case. We give it a name. And to the right, we see we have a tab for each environment in this organization. So we can configure them individually. We set the development in this first, and now we switch to the test environment and set maybe the same or another configuration. So that's a new connector that's available to use in your applications. And we also want to provide more information about the application using it to make it easier to know which connectors you are actually using or not using, that you can maybe delete instead. So
Andreas, you need to set up for all 3.
You need to set the configuration for each individually, but you define the connector once. So now switch over to develop applications. So now we will open the application in edit mode by default. I mean, how many times have you tried to edit a workflow that is not in edit mode? Thousands, maybe more, I don't know. So no extra clicks to start working. And it's possible to just save the application, and you can immediately test it in all clients in the dev environment. Debug directly in the web client with all variables available, so no separate test bench needed. And you only need to commit your application when you are ready to deploy it to your end users. And we have a new flow script engine with data types, null, HTTP support, and it's fully JSON compatible and more. And we have the Windows designer that you all know and love, will be there from the start. And in the roadmap, we also have a new designer web application, and that will come later. So let's take a look at application. So we will open up the create expense application in the designer, and as an example, we will just add an optional customer field in one of the user steps for creating a new expense. And then as soon as we are done, we can just click on the play button and we will open up the web client in debug mode. So immediately starting the application that we just did changes in. And we can see it's running. And now we have the new customer field, and we can see all the variables to the right. And we have all the new features for searching variable names. And we can sort the variables. And we can also search for a value. And we have a toggle for the variable screen, so you can get the full client experience if you want. See what it looks like. Next, components or fragments in Flow 6. Always use the latest is the new default for components. And application will always use the latest committed version of a component. So this is all a little bit complicated to explain, but so what it means is that if I have an application and that application uses component A, which in turn uses component B. So if we update component B, we just need to commit that component, and we don't need to do any changes in component A or in the application to start testing this new version of the component. And when we are ready, we see that, oh, this new version of the component B works great, and we are ready to deploy it for testing. Then we commit the application itself, and that will fix all the component version in that, so all the components that this application is using. And that means that when we have committed the application, we will not be affected by component updates after that. So that's a fixed set. And application with components will be delivered to the client in separate pieces instead of being included inside the application like it is in Flow 6. Andreas?
Will a fragment from Flow 6 work or be converted to a component
Yes.
in this version?
Yes. So you will be able to import your application with fragments, and that will create new components. And just to maybe one thing about the automatic use of latest committed. that is true as long as you don't break the compatibility. So making breaking changes either by changing the input or the output of the component. So if you add additional required input parameters, you need to update the components using that. But otherwise, it will just work. And by separating the application and the components, only the updated components needs to be fetched to the client. Otherwise, we already have this cached on the client. And a new powerful feature is that we can also debug components in the web client. And we have a new input editor that I will show you in a demo. So let's open the My Tasks application and add a new expense component inside that application. And this application is actually a seeded inbox application that we can see before the start step. We have some data going into that. And now we have moved the inbox configuration to be inside the application instead, in the start step. And we think that is much more intuitive to use. So now let's add the component to this application. And in this side panel, we have all the components available that we have in this package. So we can just drag the expenses component out to the application. And I don't know, maybe it's a bit small, but we see immediately that this is version 3 of the component. So that's the latest. So we just connect that. And then when we open up the configuration, we see that we have a new input editor. So as soon as we start typing here, we will see the required input for this component. And it will get displayed as soon as you type. So this is the things we need to provide to use this component. And now we can just click on the play button to start debugging the new application with the expense component. And this is also a new feature that you can run inbox applications in debug mode. So starting the inbox application, and you click on an item in the list, and it will start in this debug mode, showing all the variables. And we can see that we have the new expenses component available. So just by adding this component, and immediately we can run the application in our demo environment. I have a short little debug components demo as well. That's a really nice feature. So now we have the expense component, the very same we added to the application. And if we just click on the play button here, so when we start the component in the client, it will immediately prompt us for the input to this component. So this is the required inputs, and we can just add our values and start testing this component. So that's debug components. So let's take a look at sharing applications. So we can share designer permissions to our admin groups, and we have unlimited developers, meaning there's no separate license for administrators. We can share runtime access to end user groups, and runtime access gives you the permissions to run in test and prod environments in the clients. So let's add some end user permissions to our work order package. We'll open up the share section and grant access. Now we switch to the end users and we're adding test to our QA testers group. So that now means that members in the QA testers group can run the applications in all test environments, if the applications are deployed, that is. So, deploy applications. We have a new deployment overview where you can easily see which applications have been deployed, and we can see exact version of the application and components that is included in all of these deployed versions. And we can deploy any valid version of an application to any environment. And it's easy to just undeploy an app as well. And we can now support the deployment process of going from dev to test to QA to prod. And version numbers are visible all the way to the client. So let's deploy a new version of the My Tasks app. So we open up the My Tasks and we commit a new version. And there we also see the included components inside this application and the version that will now be committed in this version 7 of the application. So we switch back to the hub and we go to the deployment overview. So now let's deploy the new version of My Task to test. We see the list of available versions. And version 7 was the one we created. Boom, it's deployed to our test environment. And we see it's version 7. And we can see if we go into the components, we see exactly the included component version. And in this we have version 7 is blue. That means that this is the latest version of that, or latest committed version of that application. And we see that version 3 is in QA and version 3 is in production. And we see the commit message, or a little bit of that we just added when we committed the application. Run applications. The new Flow Connect client is in all-in-one client, meaning we have one URL. There's no specific service to remember. We can switch between organizations and environments inside the client. We have a new home view. We can have favorites. And we have asynchronous inboxes. And that means that the client is no longer locked while waiting for the inboxes to update. So a little demo of the client. So we have single sign-on with our Azure AD account, and we can select which organization and which environment to use. We open the work orders package and we see the inbox application. We see this little badge with 5 items, and we can now set this as a favorite, and then it appears at the top of the home screen above the packages, and that also, as you see, works with inboxes, so that will be automatically updated. Now let's switch to our test environment, and we have our work orders applications, and we see there in the client that we have version 7 that we just deployed. So that can be helpful when you have issues with the end user out there. So just check that they have the latest version. And we see that we have a lot less packages available in our test environment, and that is because either we don't have access to more packages than these 2, or they have not been deployed to test yet. ideas.novacura.com, maybe a little bit early for Flow Connect, but we think we have included a lot of the feature requests you have entered for Flow 6 in this new product. And as soon as we have released the new product, we would love to get your feedback here, of course. A little summary. So we can now set fine-grained permissions in the hub. We can define connectors across all environments. We can debug applications in the web client and commit applications for deployment. Always use the latest version of components. And we have a deployment overview with full control over application deployment. We have a new single sign-on client with multiple environments, favorites, asynchronous inboxes. Questions?
In the user flows, the version, can you hide it? Because we have some flows where during development and testing, we are like a version 700 and something.
Yeah, I completely see that. Yeah, that could be a feature. But also remember that you will commit your application a lot less in this new world where you can test the application just running them immediately without committing them. So that version log will be a lot shorter, at least.
200.
Yeah, it's only 200 now, maybe. Yeah.
Could you reset the maybe to hide or because it's like when you were 225 you call it 1.
Yeah, exactly. I did it.
Maybe. The idea is that we would set the version automatically, so you don't need to do anything yourself. But yeah, could be an option. Yeah, Mahesh.
Can you support multiple productions?
Yeah, we probably will support multiple production environments in the future, but not in the initial release. But I see the benefit for some use cases. It would be very nice to be able to publish to or deploy to multiple production environments as well. So there will be always be one dev environment where you do your development, and then you can have multiple test environments, and then maybe, probably in the future, multiple prod environments as well.
But you support multiple tests? already, or?
Yeah, I don't know if it will be in the market release, but it will come soon, at least.
And just to follow up on that, what would be then the solution for those of us who have multiple production environments today? Should we then wait with moving to Connect, or would we then have to have multiple instances?
Yeah, so when you have multiple production instances today, I guess you have multiple installations then?
Yeah.
Yeah, so probably that could be a solution even with Flow Connect when we...
So we have a single dev and a single test, and multiple product environments that listen to or
okay.
to the...
Yeah, okay, yeah.
So I'll touch upon the kind of subject, should you go now or wait?
Okay.
And the answer for you specifically, like for Noble and the customers that have multiple flow servers on the rigs, which will be kind of on-prem, is that you need to wait a bit because the on-prem installation is coming later in the rigs.
But it's part of the original requirement.
Yes.
The design time is multi-tenant cloud, and runtime could either be run multi-tenant cloud or single-tenant on-prem. So, and then we're talking about containerization or something, whatever it's called.
Yeah.
When we move to the on-prem versions.
But as you say, it's important to get the feature of deploying in the same context. You can deploy to the multiple production, even though that they will be on-prem.
Yeah.
I think for those two comments, we should probably just talk a little bit
Yeah.
afterwards, because we probably want to hear about how you guys want to handle permissions across those environments in this new world. It would be a nice conversation, because we need to understand that requirement a bit better, I think.
Yeah, I also have, like, the user handling is also would be an issue here, because you have users that will have access then to 8 environments, but you only want them to actually access them when they are on the rigs, for example, and so on. So
Multiple organization.
So there are tons of scenarios.
Yeah, absolutely.
Together, you know, there are super specific scenarios even where the flow servers are locked away in a defense company in the basement, you know, they don't even have access to it, and how do we manage that? So we can go through the scenarios, but basically you have to wait a bit. It's there, you know.
Which is sad, because we've been looking forward to Hub for several years already.
But now you see it.
Yeah, it's real.
It's real. We're gonna feel the pain of Novacura this autumn, you know, we're trying out and using this.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we're practicing dog fooding here, so as we speak, we are working on converting our workflows into Flow Connect.
Right.
Yep.
Exactly that. Converting from 6 to Connect, is it like you do today, you know, you're going to Flow server, press upgrade, and
I'll talk about that a bit in my talks later, but it's because we have some experience in doing that, you know, but the methodology is the same. It is export import.
Yeah, so you will not automatically upgrade from Flow 6 into Flow Connect, but you can export everything you have, all the workflows and fragments and so on, into Flow Connect.
so the idea is that you import it and then you're done.
Yeah.
Of course, there's
Yeah.
some things that we know of now that we tweak. We've found things, you know,
Yeah.
and then we can share those kind of experiences. The same way when you go to a new system, there's some small things, not like super, you have to rebuild like the controls and stuff, but
Yeah, you need to check the workflows a little bit, and we have some, like I mentioned, we have a new flow script engine, and that we have, for example, we now support null values, which we didn't in the past, and that has some small effect on your workflows. We will try to convert everything that we can, but it's not everything that is possible to automatically convert.